Fourth report. So loud. I put it all the way up to 100. Okay, good. So the first 2 years, psychosocial development, the basic questions that we will get through in this chapter are, excuse me, I did not take my medicine this morning. Where did I put it? Ooh, does a difficult newborn become a difficult child? Have you guys ever thought about that? Like if you have somebody in your bubble, or you, even if you're nobody's in your bubble with kids, or you're like at Target late at night, I swear to you, I like to go in there when it's late because there's nobody in there. Or like Ross is open till like 11:30, so I'm like there late, right? Right? But there's always this kid in the back corner, just like, and I'm thinking, my first thought as a child development manager is just like, really, is this a good time for that child? Maybe the child's tired. They need to go to sleep. But you know what? Maybe that child's pattern's off, you know? Anyways, there's always a child who may, in your opinion, be difficult, right? And some kids are more aloof. Some kids are more warm. Some kids will go to anybody, and some kids will go to nobody, right? And so sometimes a difficult child, you know, is difficult just as a child, and then later they're kind of chill. It doesn't really determine the fact those two things are not exactly correlated. They can be, but they're not exactly correlated. Number 2, what do babies do to indicate how responsive their parents are? By the way, your kids can tell on you if you're a good parent, even if they're nonverbal. And I will show you. So yeah, the kids will cold bust you, even if they're nonverbal, by how they react to you. So in the last chapter, we saw the visual cliff piece, and that experiment only works when the children are connected to the parents. If there's no bonding and you try to do the visual cliff, the kid won't even look at the parent to socially reference, right? And the kid will they just don't know what to do if they're not bonded, right? So it's interesting because children will change their behavior based on how responsive you are. And I've seen parents who they love their children, but they don't hold them. They're in the car seat a lot, and then they'll have this little bald spot. That is a huge indicator, huge indicator. Or, oh, my mijo, he's so quiet. He doesn't talk. And he's like 3. He's just my perfect angel. Your child should be like babbling their face off at 3, babbling their face off at 3. Okay. And so sometimes they'll have the baby on the hip forever and ever, never put him down and let him learn how to walk. You're like, mom, dad, that's all on you. That's not on the kid. Could definitely just develop, but you got to let him do it. Yeah. Number 3, and do infants benefit or suffer when cared for by someone other than their mother? Again, some of these are very, very rhetorical. We already know. So good stuff. So again, look at this here. At 6 weeks, we get our first social smile. 6 weeks, that's a month and a half. So you have your little baby, and you've been changing them and feeding them and holding them and burping them and putting them to sleep and playing with them and taking them to grandma's house and sharing them with all the people and whatever, you know, doing all this stuff. 6 weeks it takes for that baby to like look at you, look at your eyes, and kind of like reference you into a smile. When's the last time you worked at your job for 6 weeks and didn't get a smile from a boss, a peer, or a customer? How long would you keep that job? Right? Parenthood's rough, man. Like, there's a thing. And then at 3 months, now we're 90 days in, you'll actually get a giggle. You'll get a laugh. You could have been telling your best jokes this whole time. You weren't getting anything. And so it's really interesting. You're going 90 days at a job, a full time, and I mean like 24/7 job. And you barely kind of get like an atta girl or atta boy or a smile or a thumbs up for 90 days. It's rough. And then you're overtired. Your house is a mess. Like, whatever. It's crazy. But guess what? Like at 4 months, you get these full, like, giggly smiles, or like when you come to see them, they recognize you. It's really kind of cool. And see how this coincides with the last chapter of the brain growth. The brain grows and the emotions grow because the brain's growing. It's crazy. And then you'll get angry 4 to 8 months. What makes a kid super angry between 4 to 8 months? What really pisses off? What really ticks off a 4-month-old, 6-month-old, 8-month-old? Take a guess.
Being in a wet diaper.
Oh yeah, There could be kids who hate that feeling. Like mine didn't like the wet diaper so much, but he liked the poopy diaper. I'm not kidding. Like I would go to take the poopy diaper off and he would get mad that I was taking it off. I was like, what? And you can't say like, you know, explícame. You can't say like, tell me why, because they can't. Then we come to find out later, he's got sensory processing. So he really likes, still to this day, squishy stuff. And potty training was the worst because he would have a full diaper and he'd be happy with it. I was like, gross. But pee, he was like, yeah, let's get rid of that. That's no big deal. But if it was squishy, he was like, yeah.
These things could be like strangers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So check this out. 9 to 14 months, fear social events, strangers, separation for caregiver. That coincides with that object permanence at around 9 months. Isn't that crazy? That you are the object that is now permanent. And if you are permanent, then where did you go? I'm mad at you. You disappeared. And I know you're still there, but you're just not where my eyes can see you. Oh yeah, they can get mad. It could be a toy. It could be anything, right? Because again, some children are more sensitive and some children are a little bit more rough and tumble, right? And then 12 months, they can get jumpy, which is fine. That shows you that fear of unexpected sights and sounds. If you're doing peekaboo like that and they can expect it, sometimes you're doing this and they're giggling all the way through. That means they kind of expect it. But if it's like a loud noise, speaking of that, like my dog, I live in Santa Ana, so that we have fireworks like 24/7. And so my dog is like, she seriously will get up in the middle of the night to like sleep on me if there's a firework. So she's basically a 12-month-old. She's like a toddler. And then this 18 months is really cool. About a year and a half, there's this realization of self. That's a year and a half into your job. And you're finally just getting it. Right? When's the last time you were working a job for 18 months and you were just understanding the rules, right? But again, when babies are new, they're new. So self-awareness. They'll see if something's touching them and bugging them and they can brush it off, and when they're little, they just cry because they don't know what it is. But when they're older, they just go, ew, don't like, or dirt, yucky, or spider, ew, like they start to learn, right? Pride, looky, I did this, I did it. By the way, at 18 months, pride is, I filled my diaper, look what I made. It's a piece of art and you have to praise them because it is a piece of art. It's just gross, right? Or shame, or did you touch mommy's whatever, did you touch them, did you do that, and they'll feel bad, right? Or embarrassment, like, oh, oops, you fell down, uh-oh. And then sometimes you'll get this embarrassment. So at about 18 months, they're starting to develop this very rich emotional life that really allows for a depth of existence. It's really fascinating. So think about it. In your own life, you didn't even understand what self-awareness was until 18 months. Oh, now look at this. We have baby and grandpa. So if we remember last chapter, and we remember our cognitive development, and we remember Piaget, what is this little girl doing here that Piaget would notice?
Is it that she's sticking out her tongue?
Absolutely. Piaget would call it what? What phase or what stage in cognitive development?
Sensory motor.
Sensory motor. That's right. So she's right in the pocket for sensory motor, right? This is a really silly question. Does her tongue sticking out signify something wrong with her mouth or her mind? No, she's right on track. In fact, grandpa could have just been playing the game. Have you ever done that with a little baby? Like just like hold on to them and just like play with your own tongue and be like, at about 6 months, they're all about it. At 6 months, they'll start doing stuff with their tongue. They can't exactly mirror you, but at 9 months, they'll try to reach out and grab it. It's fantastic. That's how I like to test babies, like when they're itty bitty and I do tongue stuff and then they copy a little bit, then you're like, all right, cool. We have some social referencing. By the way, if a baby can copy you even in the slightest, did you know that's actually language, pre-language development, even if you're not making sounds. It's the neural pathway that says that person does it and I'm going to do it too. And then later it's that person made that sound and I'm going to make that sound too. Then later after that, it's, I heard mommy say this word. I'm going to say this word too. As in when Peyton was 4, where I was driving and somebody cut me off and I like honked the horn and he said, moron. And I was like, oh, at least it was only moron. Did it in the right tone, at the right time, right? So he heard exactly what I said at some other time doing the exact same thing. Thankfully, it was only moron, right? So even copying physical things like your tongue, like grandma could have been playing the tonguey game, right? Like going back and forth, and then now she's doing it, right? Or he's got maybe like, you know, an apple in his hand and he's putting it on her lip and things like that. So she's actually tasting something, right? So early emotions are very concentrated. You know, again, it's a cry and it's one thing that means anything. And then as they get a little bit older, they get a little bit more sophisticated. So then we get into anger and sadness, right? And it always makes me wonder what really angers a baby, right? Around 6 months, you won't get the first anger until about 6 months. And then you hold on to it for a while, right? Because things can make them angry. Think about it. If you were in a different country and you had zero language ability, it was like an alien planet and you could not speak the language, how would you express yourself? You'd be pointing, you'd be grunting, you'd be like, and then if you were frustrated, you'd probably scream, yell, cry, or have a temper tantrum. It's humans. But as you get to know, again, as you grow, you get to be more sophisticated in your responses. So sadness appears in the first few months too. It's really kind of interesting. And when an infant is sad, it's stressful for them because sadness is uncomfortable. So what makes a baby sad?
Maybe if no one's like paying attention to them.
Yeah, they're alone. That could be very saddening. Yes, very, but it creates a stress response, which is really interesting. So it'd be like the same as you guys studying for an exam or whatever, and the stress or whatever for that. It's the same thing a baby feels, just being sad. Ugh. It's disheartening. This is my favorite picture here because this baby is around 9 months old. So now we have that piece of the brain. It talks about object permanence and stranger danger. And so the number one, the good Santas have a real beard, by the way. I have a friend who's a Santa and he's like, yeah, I get paid the big bucks because it's a real beard. I was like, nice. And the better Santas know that this is normal. We have Easter bunny pictures like that too. Or Mickey Mouse figures. It's hilarious when you see the whole family and they're holding the baby and the whole family's smiling and there's Mickey Mouse and the baby's like, it's the best. But developmentally appropriate, you know that their brain is on track. Stranger danger means that their brain, so I'm telling you right now, my kid never, ever, ever developed stranger danger. Ever to this day. My husband took one on a night bike ride last night. He said, listen, if we ride by anybody, can you only say hi once, please? Instead of like, hi, what's your name? What's your dog? What car do you drive? Where do you live? So that's part of the autistic mind. There's no like governor there that says like, okay, that person could hurt me. My child says that person could have something in their like purse or wallet that I want, like $1 or some gum. Yeah, never, never, never stranger danger. So I was always, the object permanence happened on time, but his stranger danger never happened. And so that's actually kind of scary as a parent. But that was one of the early indicators of autism too. So yeah, that social learning, it's just a part of his brain, never put that together. Still to this day, you know, I'll catch him on funky websites and he's like, what? I'm just chatting with somebody. That person says that they're 18. I was like, I can't even describe to him like internet dangers because he does not get it. He does not, he thinks everything on the internet's true. I'm like, oh God. So yeah, he doesn't have his own phone. He gets internet usage with another adult in the room. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So stranger weariness, very common, and separation anxiety, very common too. Now, again, if you are overly connected and you have a disorganized attachment and you're super connected to your parent, you'll see kids going to preschool who are like crying for their mommy. Some of that's normal, right? But if they cry all day, that is not normal, right? So good preschool teachers know that when the drop off happens, half of the kids are going to be crying for the first month, right? And then that goes down. That goes down because, yeah, a little bit of stranger anxiety. And guess what? Little bitty babies like this are actually in daycare too. So knowing when a baby knows a parent and a baby also knows a non-parent, that helps them understand like that both of these people are meeting my needs and I can be attached to two different people. So I think that answers one question. I think, Anissa, you had that. Can they have two different attachment styles of two different people? Absolutely. Absolutely. They could be at home and not getting their needs met and go to daycare and get their needs met and actually be bonded a little bit better at daycare. Absolutely. Or where mom and dad are very structured and then they go to grandma or auntie and uncle's house and there's no structure. Oh yeah, you can have definitely different bonding patterns. Yeah, but again, our goal here is to have a strong bonding pattern with at least one person within the first month, right? And so again, when we talk about the physical development right after birth, that kangaroo care, the skin to skin, I was able to do skin to skin when Peyton was in the NICU, when he was little itty bitty. I think that really helped with our bonding. I was able to breastfeed. I think that really helped with bonding. Again, when he's mad at me, I still get, I love you. So I'm like, win. Or even I said to him in the house and there's nobody else here. I was like, I love you, monkey butt. He's like, oh, you're so embarrassing. But I love you too, mommy. I was like, I even tell him when he's so mad at me, he says, you're the worst mom in the history of moms. There's no worser moms than you. Or we were at the grocery store and he's telling this lady, my mom makes me do chores. She's like, good. We're checking out. And he's like, my mom's making me load the groceries. And the checkout lady, she's like, good. I was like, you're not going to get any sympathy from other moms, bro. It's not going to happen. Okay. So toddlers' emotions. And the reason I keep talking about him, even as an adolescent, is that with his autism, there's a lot of this stuff still going on. And I even texted one of his helpers over the weekend, because again, I told you he was in his room playing. He was playing alone, like when he was 4. Like he was in his room and he was tinkering with stuff and of course destroying the carpet. But he was like humming to himself and singing to himself and talking to himself. And I was like, he's been doing this since he was 4. And that's just kind of where his brain's at. That's just how he was made. And yeah, he will get more sophisticated, but there's moments where he just kind of is just in that little emotional click where he's at. That's where he's at. And again, this entire book is developed on the typically developed child. Like we'll talk a little bit more in next unit about special needs, just a little bit. But all of these things are kind of like right down the middle of the road for all typically developed children. Outliers are somewhat included. If you want to learn more, come take 205 with me, big time. Okay, so look here. When we talk here about as their brain grows, like in chapter 6, as their brain grows, their memory grows. Makes sense, right? So they can remember your face better. They can remember your smell, your toys that you bring, or your house, or the trip to your house. Like just like you put them in the car, and if they know what the trip to the store is kind of short, but the trip to the doctor's office is kind of long, and the trip to grandma's house is even longer. So they'll start to remember these things, which is really kind of cool. And then social awareness is influenced by context and culture, meaning some of these higher order emotional triggers start from the outside of the child. Okay, some of these things like pride. Look, I made this. I'm really like, you're gonna hear this around 4 years old. I can do it. It's my turn. Gimme, right? I can do it all by myself. You're gonna hear those things. But when they're little, sometimes you're gonna get that guilt trips from the outside, because guilt isn't naturally big. It shows up a little bit, but big guilt comes from the outside. Like, how can you do? So let me show you a video. There's a mom in there, and it is an actress, and they're talking about that an improper adult response. what an inconsistent parenting response is all about. And when you start laying your adult stuff on kids, it can go nowhere but badly. And so again, this is an actress. There is nobody who's injured this child. And just to warn you, I think it's like 1987 because there's some acid wash jeans and turtlenecks and overalls and like shirts tucked into the jeans with the belts. And it's like, it's pretty. And I think they're in Canada because they have a little bit of an accent. So it's good. It's just dated, but I kind of enjoy that too. So hold on, let me get this one. All right, questions so far? Have you guys asked yourself yet about maybe your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend? About maybe what their attachment style is? Show them the video in the discussion board. It's important. I think it's very good. Yeah, I think it's very, very good. I just assumed that everybody had good attachment, and then it maybe clicked in. When I learned this in college, I was all, oh my God. And like, in contrast, in my house, again, my attachment's a little bit disorganized. My older sister is overly bonded with my mom. Like they're like sisters. And we kind of joke around about that because we say it's because my mom put my older sister in pageants and stuff. You know, like the pageant little girls and stuff. Kind of gross. And so they had this shared experience, and that was kind of part of it. So let me show you this parenting response. It's an actress, but this will show you the difference between attending to a child or attending to your own needs first. And I see this constantly. I see this where parents put their stuff, like they'll be like, oh, I see that the baby's hurt, but you realize you hurt me. You hurt my baby, you hurt me. Like, wait, hold on. Let's get it.
Parents often react inconsistently to their baby's distress. Sometimes they can be loving.
Hold on, it's going to take a sec.
Other times they are angry, and at other times they may ask their child to worry about them. Watch this mother's response to her child's crying.
Stop that! I don't want you to do that. Stop it again.
Here's another example.
Honey, you scared me. I thought something terrible had happened. Come here now. Mommy was just so scared. Make Mommy feel better. Give Mommy a hug. Make Mommy feel better.
As you can see, once when this baby hurt himself, his mother got angry.
Stop that.
And another time, the mother got more upset than the baby.
You scared me. I thought something terrible had happened.
By doing that, whether she meant to or not, the message the mom gave her baby was that her own needs were more important than her baby's. These babies stop going to their parents for comfort because they don't want to upset their parents. It's important to remember it's not up to a baby to meet a parent's needs. It's the other way around. It's up to you to meet your baby's needs. A child who gets a loving response only some of the time has to work very hard, often by clinging and whining to get their mother's attention. They don't know what to expect from their parent and are not sure how to get love and affection. They can become very demanding. In the long term, children who are unsure about themselves and their parents are likely to have problems getting along with other people. Here's another way this mother could have responded to her child. See how this time the mom focuses on the baby's needs. See how she paid attention to her baby, calmly picked him up, held him close, and reassured him. She responded to her child in a loving way, and a baby whose parent responds in this loving way learns that he can count on his parent to be there when he needs her. Babies whose mothers respond in a loving way learn to trust that their needs will be respected and valued, and they, in turn, learn to respect and value other people's needs. In other words, they can go on to form good, close relationships with their parents and with others.
Right. So not rocket science, right? This is not, that's like not information, but I'm telling you, how many times have you guys seen it where a baby's like having a problem and then it's all about the mom or the dad? Like I see it like all the time. Yeah, it's kind of gross, right? Because it's almost like the parent is the baby in a way. And then you think back, and then you start to roll it back, and you're like, if you know that person, then you're like, oh wait a minute, right? You're just like, oh my God, that makes perfect sense. Like, it's interesting because, like, in my opinion, I don't have really a high opinion of the Kardashians, but I feel like the Kardashians had babies to edify them. You know, not just like, I want to be a mom and I can't wait to like raise a child. It's like, no, I'm gonna have a baby so this baby can have an empire, like that kind of situation. Molly says my mind is totally blown. Yeah, parents, I'm telling you right now, parents come to parenting for different reasons. Like, again, and I said, I've shared with you, I'm very open and honest. I came to parenting, first I didn't want kids at all. And then I was like, hey, the universe doesn't want me to make a child. I'm going to go get one because I wanted to do a better job than what was done for me. And so parents come to it for a different reason. I actually got my dad to admit he never wanted kids at all. He was like, yeah, I guess I was supposed to just kind of get married and just have kids or whatever. But you know, it would have been better if I just didn't and just stayed in the army. I was like, good one, Dad. And then I even went back and told my mom, I was like, you know, you were great with the first two. The last two, you kind of like fell off. She was like, yeah, probably. And then when my little sister was getting up there and I was like, Mom, you don't have no rules for her no more. Like, what's going on? She goes, I'm old and tired. And I was like, maybe you should have thought about that. You know, my little sister's a hot mess because she didn't have the structure. So there's this weird thing that parents come to parenting for a different reason. And if you really understood the awesome responsibility of another human being's emotional development, whew, I think there'd be more people who just choose not to have children. And I think that is great. As a child development person, like, make your choice. My brother would say, I want kids. I was like, are you going to throw up? He's like, yeah, kids, that'll be fine. Dude, if you don't want kids, don't have kids. Don't be like Dad who said, like, eventually, maybe I shouldn't have kids. Like, yeah, pretty much. So my brother doesn't have kids, thank God. So, I mean, there's this thing where it's like, honesty is fantastic. Like, own it, lean into it. And I do actually find that refreshing with millennials, where you guys kind of get the wrong attitude from people that say you're very demanding or something. I don't know what the word is. You're very I don't know, there's this word where they say like millennials are they have like a short window of what they will tolerate. I think that's a great value system. Meaning, if you know that my life's going to do this and a child doesn't fit into that, own it. Because how many children are on the planet in a weird situation? And it's not your choice to be born, right? So I almost feel like parenting classes should be mandatory. Haha, we're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about that too in one of our discussion boards. Let's see. Lisa says, I have a student like that. We needed her parents in the classroom so she could stop crying. Guess what? Their attachment is funky. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it might be a little bit over enmeshed. Now, again, that child, maybe a few months from now, will be totally fine without the mom there. And in fact, there's a stage where your child gets engaged. It's like when you have a babysitter come over, you can't just bail. You have to wait till the child's engaged in something and then you disappear. Same thing can happen at preschool or kindergarten. Like, you're there and then they finally start doing something that they like and then the mom can leave. And then, yeah, there'll be some tears and then you just do that a couple more times. And it kind of it's kind of like building up a muscle. Yeah. But emotions, what did I start off with saying? Emotions are a lot. And we're dealing with them constantly, but we're not as smart as emotions as we are with everything else. Okay, so Lisa says she was like that for the first 4 months. Yeah, takes a couple months. And if you really, again, water it down to this person, this child, this humanoid has only been on the planet for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. How much do they have it figured out? If we're this age and we don't have it figured out, why do we put these high expectations on a 4-year-old to have it all figured out? To not have a temper tantrum, to make their bed perfectly or tie their shoes on command. Like, we have got to be, as adults, I think more adults need to know child development. Obviously, I'm biased. Number 2, adults need to chill. Even my friend said, how did you not lose your mind about that carpet being ruined? I was like, well, first of all, That was not the first spot on it. Number 2, the damage has been done. What is my yelling going to like erase it? She's like, wow, she's like, you're such a good mom. I was like, no, I was too tired to like, even my husband was like, do you see the carpet? I was like, yeah. He's like, but I was like, it's carpet. I'd rather have a secure child with jacked up carpet. Although he's likes to just, honestly, we've come to a point where he literally breaks everything he touches, because he's impulsive, he's high energy, and he's curious. So he's impulsive. He might just drop something and break it. He's impulsive, and then he's curious. And so he wants to take it apart. So, did your mom ever say to you, this is why we can't have nice things in the house? Yeah, I get that now. He's not allowed to sit at the dinner table because he tore the tablecloth, the under thing, and scratched my table. You don't get to sit at the table anymore. You do your homework. Literally, he does it on the floor. He sits on the floor. He has a little desk. I tried to put him on the little coffee table. He started breaking that too. My couch is like destroyed. I was like, dude, you're on the floor. You're under the counter. Your stuff is away from you. You're full. I'm telling you. Like, he used to have a computer in his room, but there was like a little fan to keep it cool. He would like put stuff in there and break it. So I was like, no. So there's this weird thing where our emotions they come with our brain processes, but our emotions are still so foreign. Again, we have 3 Mars rovers on Mars. We're talking about colonizing the moon. We have a satellite around Jupiter, but we can't figure out human emotions. Is it really that hard? I don't think so. It is. It's nebulous because everybody is different. Everybody is so different. Yeah. Okay. Some more questions. Let me get you guys a really good one, a really good video here. So this is remember how I said earlier that children can kind of report on how attached that they are. So Ainsworth and Bowlby came up with this really structured 11:48. I can't talk anymore. We're past time. Well, let's do that tomorrow. If you guys can come tomorrow, we'll talk about Bowlby and Ainsworth's strange situation and still face experiment. This is how we have children, how they react to their mothers and how they try to get their mother's attention or not. Right? So really, really excited. I see how excited I am about this stuff. I talk over time. But thank you guys for hanging in there and all the tech stuff at the beginning. But wow, we went a little bit late, but it looks like we covered a lot of stuff. And I just want to make sure that if you guys are available, come to the lecture tomorrow. If not, I'm posting the videos. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we have the open forum, so you guys can come and talk about any sort of emotional stuff. Yeah. But what I'm suggesting is start that discussion board now. Watch that video, and and then I kind of made a reference to the parts of the book where that attachment stuff is, and it's a good hefty part. I mean, it really is the foundation of your life. It really is. Yeah. So super excited. All right. So you guys do not have to stay late. You guys don't have to stay late after class. You're not in trouble. You can go, but if you have questions, stick around. I will stop.